listening for my toddler sleeping. Nice. Hi, my name is Jordy Rose. I'm glad you're here. It has taken me 10 months to make this video, and by 10 months I mean 11, and by 11 I mean almost 12. I have filmed 5 variations of this, maybe even 6, and it was January of 2024 that I was contemplating leaving my job as a director in public relations to stay at home with my first, and I'm pregnant with my second. In January, I was filled with so much creativity. With every iteration of the videos that I was filming, I mentioned the phrase like in the in-between or in the middle, and I just really loved this idea of starting to carve out a space on YouTube, a platform that I really love, for women and men who feel like they're just stuck in between a lot of different things. So that was the original concept. Then in March, while I was still working, still kind of figuring out what that would look like, I had a trauma relapse. I have CPTSD, so it's complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And then I also just have developmental trauma that I've been working on in therapy for years and years. And that trauma relapse, it was just a reemergence of a lot of layers of the developmental trauma, because developmental trauma is from stuff that happened in your childhood, and mine's really relational, and so then it impacts the relationships that I have. And as you enter each new stage of development, even in adulthood, you're gonna find new layers of that developmental trauma. So me entering motherhood, considering staying at home, considering trying for a second child, that just kind of reemerged some new layers of that trauma that I didn't realize I needed to address. I was like, well, this dream of like maybe creating a blog, maybe creating a YouTube, maybe creating something is gone. You don't watch YouTube channels of people who are like, hey guys, like this video is just gonna be kind of you like schlepping through my day as a mom as I also deal with what I'm processing in therapy. One of the trademarks of having CPTSD is this crippling self-doubt. This idea of my specific self-doubt is I ruin things. So this whole last 11 months felt no different, right? It felt like, oh, I just ruined another thing that I wanted to do, which was try to carve out a space online. So then I was pregnant, schlepping through this relapse. So proud of myself for the schlepping, I guess, if that's a word we're just going to continuously use in this video, while also just feeling really, I guess, alone when I looked out at the different people who I loved to follow on social media. It felt like a lot of them either were at the beginning of their journeys and they either like didn't have similar developmental trauma to what I had, hadn't unpacked it, or they were at the other side, so they were in their like 40s, 50s, 60s, and were kind of talking about their experience of unpacking that in motherhood, or they were therapists. And then I think I had this realization that that is exactly what I've been longing to see. I have been longing to see someone who is not at the other side of their trauma and begin to like even just journal out what I'm learning, what I'm doing, even in a way for me to just to get to see it in like a beautiful way. I think that's such a cool part of social media. I think that can be a toxic part of it, sure, but I also think it's a really special part of it, of like getting to romanticize the day-to-day, especially for moms, as we're kind of in taking care of our littles, taking care of ourselves, working on our shadow side so that they don't impact our littles, watching them impact our littles anyway. And I guess I just decided like, fuck it, I am going to try. And what a better way to take on that self-doubt than go and like put my life out into a place where people are already going to doubt you. So like what a better, sorry, I keep looking at that camera. I know I need to look at that camera, but what a better test, like self-test, than that. So the idea was the in-betweens. It doesn't have to be CPTSD. It doesn't have to be developmental trauma. It could even just be like your own flavor, and it feels like a lot of the people that you see on social media either don't have to confront that because they're really close with all of their family, or they seem to have like everything together in every aspect of their lives, or they're therapists and wanting to be kind of that person who's in that space in the middle in multiple areas, who is willing to just talk about it, who's willing to schlep. Another place where I feel like I'm really an in-between representative is for world of non-toxic, holistic, low toxic living because 10 years ago, 2024, the end of 2014 to 2015, I was diagnosed with an immunocompromisation. Now we know, kind of in working with my therapist and working with my doctors, it was all kind of wrapped up in my CPTSD, my developmental trauma. And I think because of that, I have for the last 10 years really had to, and I'm continuing to have to, find a way to live low toxic and simply without then triggering trauma responses, without triggering eating disorder responses. Find a way to take care of my body, yes, but not in a way that then is stressing my nervous system even more. I think there's like such a risk right now in the world of non-toxic for a lot of us 90s babies who grew up surrounded by eating disordered language and culture and diet culture, and we're all so proud of ourselves for breaking that, working on breaking that still. But then I think that just left us like so susceptible to then just like whoop, putting in like non-toxic language. And I think that was something that I felt was missing too, is there's all these accounts now that will tell you all of the things that are bad and all of the things that are better. There are accounts that will tell you like all of that. I was really longing for someone who was kind of in that in-between space. So the different types of videos that I might see us having are these kind of face-to-face conversations where I talk about any of those in-betweens that I mentioned. Day in the life vlogs, talking about how I'm preparing for my birth. First, I had a unmedicated hospital birth that I loved. It was so long, but great. So maybe even like telling that story, and then how I'm preparing for a home birth for this second baby. We might be talking about the fertility awareness method. That's a type of birth control that I've done, I would like to say, successfully for the past 7 years. Holistic swaps, but how to do them in a low stress way. Trauma to immunocompromisation pipeline and kind of where that comes from. Recipes, different things that I make for my toddler, different things that I make with my toddler. I'm still a really new mom. Like my child is 2 years old and I'm pregnant. But I think, again, not letting that stop me, like letting the fact that I'm in the middle be something that maybe encourages those who are younger than me. And maybe I get to then learn from like folks who are ahead of me in like what they have done. It's so easy to be like, that's stuff that already exists. But I think the hope, the desire, wish, the prayer is that being from someone who does have a trauma background, maybe will be a space where people feel open to asking really hard questions, where people feel validated in certain things that are really easy for others being difficult for themselves. I think for too long, it's felt like the way that people view me does not match how I view myself. And so if I can like lean in a little bit to being like, no, this is my space. I'm going to create this space and I'm going to see how I can start even just believing in myself and match that like external appearance with how I'm internally feeling about myself. So yeah, I think that is what we're going to try to do. If you watched all of this and you resonate with any of it, I would love to hear what you resonate with and even how old you are, or like what stage of life you would consider yourself in. And also, if any of those things that I listed of like the types of videos, if there are ones where you're like, I would love to see this, or I would love to hear this, tell me. I'm gonna try to do a video every single week, and we'll just see kind of what that looks like. Leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. I'll find my like whatever my spiel is. Also, I'm realizing I didn't say like, hi, I live in Illinois, have a husband and a dog and a cat and a child and a baby in there. I probably should have like started there, but instead I was like, hi, I'm Jordy and here's my trauma. And finally, people with CPTSD often either prelude, like we'll do like a 20-minute lead-in, which basically this video is, to my channel, or we'll do a 20-minute lead-in to a story, or after we finish a story, we then give a bunch of quantifiers. So that's what you just sat through.